What's going on, guys? I'm IcyRhythms. Welcome back. And a lot of you probably knew that this was coming. I mean, where do we begin? I'm not even sure. I could turn this into a 30 or 45-minute video. I feel like I really could. If you're staying current with gaming news, you have seen recently, 2 days ago, Microsoft has canned Tango Gameworks. Certainly not the only studio under Microsoft that suffered that day, but this is the one that I'm going to focus on. I feel like Tango Gameworks is a very talented studio, or at least they were, and it's unfortunate that we've reached this point with someone that very recently released a hit game. I wouldn't say that I'm a huge fan or a super fan of Tango, but I would say I'm a big fan. I love the Evil Within games. Those were my go-to. I will always praise those games, especially the first game, but the second game is in some ways equally as excellent, and some people believe the better game. But most recently, Hi-Fi Rush was their release. This game did very well, and somehow, some way, Microsoft, Xbox have screwed this whole thing up. While stuff like The Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo not quite as well received on something like Metacritic as Hi-Fi Rush, those of us that have played those other games and enjoy them know that Tango is an extremely talented studio. So whether you're a Hi-Fi Rush fan, you're a Ghostwire Tokyo fan, Evil Within, all of the above, it's certainly just not a good week. It wasn't a good day, and it's just unfortunate news. I have tried so many times, time and time again on this channel. I have videos that are dedicated to it, trying to tell people that Microsoft, Xbox, they need new management. I feel like those that are running the show at Xbox right now have no clue what they're doing. I feel like they've been given more than enough chances to show that they can be on the same level as a Nintendo or a Sony, and they just haven't done that. I won't sit here and pretend that they haven't had some really good games or even some great games and maybe one or two exceptional ones in that time, but it's been a really long time since Microsoft was amazing. They were great with the original Xbox in the first, 4, 5, 6 years of the Xbox 360 were absolutely killing it. They were amazing. If a studio like Tango Gameworks, that's as talented as they are, can come along, make great games like The Evil Within, Hi-Fi Rush, and still get canned, even though one of those games is very recent, that tells us everything that we need to know. It certainly lets me know that I totally misjudged this entire thing. I already knew that the management wasn't very good. At best, I would say it's like a D+ effort. But I did not know that it was this bad. If this is what it's going to be like to be a studio under the Microsoft Xbox umbrella, you gotta be fearing for your livelihood working under these guys at this point. How can someone make a hit game and get canned? I didn't put a reply to it on Twitter. I didn't quote tweet it or anything, but I seen a reply on Twitter that said something like, I go where the games are, and if Microsoft will, eventually get back on track and release great games, I just want to play great games. I can't control stuff like this at these companies. You know what? I disagree. I actually believe that we all played our own little part in this entire thing. To say that we have no control over what these companies do is crazy. And I myself, and probably a lot of you listening to this, are guilty of supporting things and praising things like Game Pass. The day that this news broke and it was announced, I said, that's it. I've completely changed my stance on this entire thing. I've got a completely different way of viewing this entire situation at Xbox. At this moment, I will no longer be using Game Pass. If I have a lot of interest in a game that Microsoft is publishing, then I'm just going to outright buy the game and take my chances. Now, I'm not going to sit here and outright tell anyone what to do with their money, but to encourage to some level, maybe it's time that some of you think about doing the same. Because among other things, you have huge things like the combination of Game Pass and them canning these studios that says to me, yes, we did. And yes, we can change this. I don't know what some of you guys do. And again, it's not my place to say what to do with your money, but we need to start buying these fucking games. I already do so. If I like a game enough on Game Pass or in a demo on Steam or PlayStation, whatever it is, I buy that game. If I have interest in your game, I'm going to give you money. It's leadership, guys. It starts at the top. You have to look at everyone that's there now and say, this is not working. And to add to this, as someone that loved The Evil Within, The Evil Within 2, and really wanted The Evil Within 3, which it looks like has a very, very slim to none chance of ever happening at this point. Yesterday, as funny as some of this was, Sarah Bond was questioned. And the woman holding the interview, she did not hold back. You know, she's like, hey, a lot of fans love these games from Tango Gameworks, especially what the hell happened? And as she's still asking this question, she's still in the process of asking this question. I kid you not, I'm sitting there, I'm listening to it, I'm like, she is going to give the most automatic, robotic, just plain Jane corpo fucking answer that you can possibly think of. And what did she do? Exactly that. She didn't even really answer the question. She danced around the question and is like, you know, sometimes when we have to make these tough decisions, we don't just measure the success of one game and say all of our games need to have this much success. Some of our games, it's it's not a one size fits all. We look at everything when we have to make these tough decisions. Look, man, I mean, she seems great. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. I'm sure she is, because there's no way that she got that position otherwise. That being said, you didn't answer the question. You totally danced around it. You did exactly what they've always done in these situations, and they just don't address the real issue, the real questions. If I'm that woman and Sarah Bond is in front of me, I don't let up. I don't take my foot off the gas. I would try to be nice at first and as professional as possible and say, well, I don't feel like you answered my question. Why is it that you guys made this decision? What specifically? And try to get an answer that way. I'm super disappointed, guys. I can't even tell you, like, the way I was feeling the other day, like, almost real emotions were like pouring out of me, not to the point of crying or being angry or anything, but I'm just like, how? Maybe it's certainly the way I felt about The Evil Within. I know Shinji Mikami's been gone for a good while, but 2 was still a great game, and he took a back seat when that game was being made and just kind of let the studio do their own thing, and it came out great. Hi-Fi Rush, I believe the same director from The Evil Within 2 did that game. It's so many different things. It's unfortunate, short-sighted. I do agree with others. I think they will look back on this decision at some point, whether it's years from now or a few months from now, and regret doing this. I had a friend hit me up on Twitter today, and this friend asked me, what do you think? Is Microsoft going to go in the shitter? What's the next move? The next move for Microsoft is everything that I just talked about. Completely new management, and not people that can just talk corporate nonsense and give robotic answers in interviews or up on stage for E3 or whatever summer game show that they have planned. I want someone that's standing up on stage and doesn't even need a teleprompter to talk to gamers and get them excited for games. And speaking of games, under this new management, they need to make sure that the quality of games at Xbox improves greatly, because it has completely fallen off. It starts with those two things, guys. It really does. New management, higher quality games. Get someone in there that can look at every single thing that they're doing and say, this isn't good enough. This is nowhere near the industry standard. This is nowhere near the kind of games that someone in a AAA core audience would expect. Just get right in their face and be like, listen, this is shit. You guys are making a shit game. It's mid at best. You need to do better. Give that studio a chance to do better and change the entire culture at Xbox into just a higher quality of company. And then lastly, again, I just think that Game Pass needs to go, or they need to chill out. Under that new management, under those higher quality games, they need to start releasing those games 2 years at the earliest on Game Pass after the sales have dwindled down to almost nothing. And I already know what some people are going to say, and it is a decent point because it's already been said to me. But Icy, they can't do that because, they've made Game Pass and they've made these promises and they've sort of made this whole Game Pass thing part of their identity. The road to greatness, the road to getting back to where they were in the early Xbox 360 days, that road's going to be tough. If that means pissing a few people off over some Game Pass promises, then I'm all for it. I am totally totally for it. I don't care. I'll buy the games. I truly believe under the management that I'm talking about, they don't get rid of Tango Gameworks and they're still very much a thing. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Tango Gameworks, no longer a thing. Game Pass, Xbox management. You guys have a good one. Peace.